Hey there, powerful soul. Give me a moment to get myself set up here. Don't need all that in there. All right. The war that we are seeing here on this planet often reveals the war that is existing within our own nervous systems. And that is a philosophy I have been contemplating for over 2 decades now. When I began my undergrad studies over 2 decades ago, and was studying topics such as political science and women's history and the women's suffrage movement and the African diaspora and chattel slavery and my understanding of capitalism and the criminal justice system and all of these worldly man-made systems and the worldly power dynamics that have been at play on this planet for centuries now, and how that has impacted the way in which humans relate to each other and connect with each other and understand each other. And I believe oftentimes the wars that we are seeing play out in the collective on this planet is a reflection of the very wars that are also still showing up inside of family systems and relational dynamics, and inside of corporations and companies, inside of leadership dynamics and businesses, inside of communities even. And so we are living in really interesting times right now where the masses have had more access to information than probably any other historical time period that we are aware of. And yet, many don't know what to do with that information, because we have also discovered and learned that information alone is not what creates transformation. Information alone is not what creates healing. Information alone is not what transcends the traumas that have deeply impacted every single person on this planet in a way that may look different compared to others depending upon the experience, but every human on this planet knows what a broken heart feels like. Any human on this planet knows what grief inside of your body temple feels like. Every human on this planet knows what it feels like to feel lost and alone and scared and uncertain. So just pausing for a moment and allowing ourselves to acknowledge that though our skin and our hair and our gender and our preferences may differ at times, that we still all have blood that runs through our veins. We still have something that ties us together, and it's our humanity. And when we lose touch of that, that is when we are at trouble. We are in trouble. I wrote an article over on Substack a couple of months ago and talked about the great turning point of humanity. And so if you want to go read that, I'll be sure to include a list of other ways that you can remain connected to me if you're interested in my work. And the great turning point of humanity has been here for decades. It's shown up throughout various movements. It's shown up throughout all of the different pivotal historical moments that opened up more opportunity for Black folks here in America, and for women and all other people groups across the world where there may have been oppression and disadvantages. And we have witnessed and seen those things turn around. And we're still seeing the residue that created those situations and circumstances and dynamics show up inside of the collective, but this time it has been an invisible force. And this invisible force has been showing up inside of the nervous system of each person. I began doing transformational work with human beings 2 decades ago. In the criminal justice field, I worked with both juvenile and adult offenders who had been court ordered to my caseload because they had committed some type of criminal offense that was not heinous enough for them to get incarcerated. And yet it was enough of an offense where they had to face consequences for their actions. And oftentimes these individuals were suffering from mental health crises and undiagnosed mental health challenges and drug addictions. And so those were the individuals that I came to work with. And I started tracking this even on that level. And I didn't realize then how what I was seeing on that micro level was mirroring something that was happening on a macro level until I got inside of the work I do now as a somatic identity guide and a prophetess inside of the coaching world, and started working with leaders and executives and entrepreneurs and individuals who are holding so much responsibility, and everything on the outside looks fantastic. It looks great. The success looks amazing. And there's another script, there's another story playing out inside of their nervous system. And when they go to talk therapy, they're not getting answers, or they're getting surface level answers, or they're getting regurgitated theory and jargon that Western psychology has called wellness. But they're not getting to the root cause of what is causing friction inside of their relationships, what is causing burnout inside of their energy, what is causing mental health crisis inside of their cognition, what is causing sickness and illness and ailments inside of their body temples. I believe I've discovered the root cause, and I have been devoting my career in speaking to that root cause. And that root cause is that the external worldly systems that we have seen play out in the world, the distorted hierarchy and worldly power dynamics. When I say distorted worldly power and hierarchy, what I mean is that there were certain people that were perceived as better than up here, and then others that were perceived as less than down here. And so white, wealthy men at the top, and then men of color, and then white women, and then women of color, and then children. But heaven also has a hierarchy. And so my work dwells at the intersection of worldly power and supernatural power. And as a bridge myself between heaven and earth, between the natural and the supernatural, I guide clients from the old paradigm and the old structures and systems of the world that are still lying dormant in their nervous systems, that are creating hypervigilance, overfunctioning, burnout, depletion, crashes, crises, collapses, and the type of mental, physical, emotional, relational, soul level ailments that Creator never intended for us to experience. When we are embodied and living out heaven's hierarchy, we experience heaven on earth, where our life doesn't just look good on the outside, but it actually feels good on the inside. We feel peace, we feel joy, our heart is able to stay open, we're able to maintain a higher level of perspective no matter what we are experiencing inside of our human experiences. And I believe this is part of the crux of what is happening with humanity. Many don't know how to hold themselves in the midst of hurt, in the midst of pain, in the midst of suffering, in the midst of challenges, and they turn to things to self-soothe, to self-manage, to cope with their circumstances, with the pain, with the hurt. And as I shared previously, I saw this first in my career working with offenders who are numbing their pain with hardcore addictions, crack cocaine, heroin, cocaine, alcohol, benzodiazepines, and all sorts of other addictive medications I could ramble off a name here. In my own family system, in my home, I grew up witnessing my own father's addictions of alcoholism and other substances that he used to numb his pain. And I believe the pain my father was numbing wasn't just the pain of his own lived experience, but the pain of our ancestral lineage. Because see, my father is from Mississippi. And my granny Medea, his mom, when she was pregnant with my father, was down in Mississippi picking cotton to earn money with my aunt on her back. And somebody in the family has a picture floating around somewhere. We've been trying to track it down. And so I am not too far away from a very real, tangible, generational, ancestral pain. My granny is touching the cotton that her ancestors touched in slavery. And the pain that comes with that, the remembrance that comes with that. And there's so many different sciences out there, the science of epigenetics and the science of neuroscience and all these different modern technologies and scientific studies that have been tracking what many know now as the body keeps the score. The body doesn't forget. The body remembers the pain, the hurt, no matter what land you come from. We all have experienced some type of suffering in our ancestral lineages. Whether if it's on this land of America, on the land of Germany, on the land of Africa, on the land of wherever else out in the world. There are lands on this planet that have experienced suffering. Not just for this, the color of our skin, and the lineages that we come through, but the biological gender we were birthed out of our mother's womb through, or patriarchy wounded women, and a discord and a distrust has been showing up between the feminine and the masculine for centuries. And we see this still playing out in the collective, the war on the sexes. And seeing how it shows up in our homes, how it shows up online in different conversations, and the confusion, the uncertainty, the unsettlement that is still the underlying frequency beneath the conversations. I can feel it. I can sense it. I can discern it. I can detect it. Because that's what I was wired for. That's part of my gift Creator gave me. To see in the unseen. To walk between worlds, the natural and the supernatural. And so I can hear beneath the words of what's not being said when women are attacking men and men are attacking women. I can hear beneath the words of what's not being said when we are finger pointing and blaming and shaming and accusing and criticizing and attacking each other. I can hear beneath the words when we do this with the race wars. And for some reason, I decided to come to this planet between two different wars in my own blood and veins. A woman who shows up in the world presenting as a Black woman, birthed through the body of a white woman, fathered by an African American man from Mississippi. I was born into the war of the genders and the races. And so as a little girl, I knew something is off here, because I could hear the chatter on both sides. I heard on my dad's side, my aunties calling my dad a traitor because he was with a white woman, and understanding our ancestral background and where we come from and what we've had to endure because of white folks. And I heard the chatter from my mom's side of the family of her being with a Black man and what they thought that meant. And yet my mother was the breadwinner. During a time where the feminist movement was just picking up heat and momentum, I watched my mom climb the corporate ladder inside of the industry she was in. She was in food service industry, and be the breadwinner and provide. And my dad stayed home and took care of me and my younger sisters. I'm the eldest. I saw with my own two eyes racism dynamics, patriarchal and feminist dynamics. I was born into it. I have been examining and desiring to untangle the knots that have caused discord amongst humanity since I was a little girl. Trying to understand this separation and this division and what is causing us to lead with hate and not love. What is causing us to lead with war and not peace? And after decades of personal observation, professional observation, and all the different approaches and modalities that God has gifted me to integrate inside of the work that I do, I believe I have finally found a solution. We must discharge the stress of these worldly systems and distorted hierarchies out of our own nervous system and return to our original nature of heaven's hierarchy. That is the only way we are going to experience heaven on earth for the good of all, not just for a select few. And so if you will indulge me and allow me, I would like to read to you a prayer that I wrote, not intending to share, but I feel led to share from my heart to yours. Dear beloved Creator, I call on you to help and support humanity, families, and couples that are navigating turbulent times and how they relate, understand, connect, and care for each other. When we feel hurt, we react, punish, blame, shame, and put on ancestral armor and survival shields to feel safe. We forget what drew us in initially as our systems are flooded with cortisol and memories flashing on the screen of our minds of past painful times. Our inner child is afraid, our egos get fragile, our nervous system shut down. And then we close ourselves off from giving and receiving love. We call hypervigilance protecting our peace. We mistake protesting and punishment as space. We get so confused inside, we don't know what to do. So we do what feels safe. We shut down, we close off, we lock the doors to the home of our hearts. But that's not the way to bring heaven on earth in this lifetime. That's not the way to heal humanity and reverse the distorted hierarchy and worldly power dynamics on this planet. That's not the way to heal this land and the people in it. The war in the world has been showing up in our homes and in our hearts and among each other as humans. And maybe if we end this battle between the sexes, heal the hearts of the hurting, and seek to understand more than we're understood, we'll see a world that's for the good of all and not just a select few. May God's grace be sufficient for all of mankind during these turbulent times and the future of humanity and this planet. Aho, Ashe, Amin, Amen. So it is, so shall we be it. That is my prayer for you. That is my prayer for we. That is my prayer for all of us in humanity. And so if this conversation has blessed your spirit and there is something in particular that resonated with you, please share it with me. I'd love to hear from you. And if you are an overachieving woman, leader in the public eye, who knows that it's time to step off the hyper vigilant way of leading, where everything looks good on the outside, but deep down, you know it's costing you your peace, your sleep, your joy, and all the divine promises of God of experiencing heaven on earth in this lifetime. then I will include some ways below that you can contact me, and we can have a conversation of how you can enter my world and work with me inside of either the Supernatural Woman Inner Circle, which is a 6-month identity upgrade, or my private advisory. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. I'll chat with you very soon. Take care now.